Hi, Gina. Hi, Adam. Hi, Adam.
Hey, how you doing, Erica?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I can't see you, I can only see my pictures.
Well, fortunately, I'm not a part of this. It's all about you. So,
Oh, really?
yeah. And I'm still
I
in my
thought we were having a
pajamas.
chat. I've got to look at my own face.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But people like to see your face and they like to hear your voice. And me,
Oh,
I'm just behind the scenes. So,
uh,
thank you for being a part of this today. And thank you, everyone.
that's all right. Thanks for arranging it.
Of course, it's my pleasure. We haven't spoken in a while face to face, so although my
Yeah,
face isn't here, I'm happy to
about
see
a year,
yours.
isn't it? Since my almost trip to New York.
Yep, yep. Which is kind of interesting. Adam's plane, I think, went on fire in some part. And
It was all very exciting.
yes, and unfortunately, he couldn't get another flight out, and he couldn't make it to his last show. And thankfully, you didn't book a flight this time. But
Well, I mean, at the beginning of the year, I was hoping to come. I'd even been talking to a friend about joining me out there, but yeah,
yeah,
well,
well,
things happen, don't they?
yes, I suppose. But there will always be another time, so we'll plan for that in the future.
Yeah,
And
I'll definitely.
yeah, and so for everyone joining us, please remember that should you have questions about Adam and his work, please send us your questions in the comments and we'll be happy to address them. And for everyone just joining, we have Adam Oehlers here with us today, and we're going to be talking about a couple things. First, his solo show coming up called Thistledown. Adam's had a number of shows with us now, and each show is always a bit more exciting than the last, but
Yeah, wonderful.
yeah, we still love every single piece that he's ever sent us. And we'll also be talking about a recent book that he illustrated called A Stranger's Tale. So we have some of Adam's show, which you guys are seeing now, and this is a bit of a sneak peek. And the show itself is comprised of illustrations from A Stranger's Tale, which are very easily identified by the white mat and the black frame. All those pieces are from that publication, which also you can see right there. And
It
then
was
we have
really nice to see them with you. It was quite nerve-wracking sending them out into the world.
I know, I know. I appreciate you sending me them. And he has quite a bunch of really, really gorgeous illustrations on this book. And the book itself is quite wonderful too. So we're very grateful for these and we will take wonderful care of them. And we're crossing our fingers too that we'll have some time to at least hang the show, even if it's for the last week or two.
Yeah.
So but there are other pieces that are characterized by the thicker black frames and the black mat. Those are three more recent works that he's created specific for the show. And there will be some others that he's working on now, including shadow boxes, which we
Yeah.
also love greatly. Adam took to shadow boxes so quickly, and his work just, I think, works perfectly with the dimension and the layers that he brings in. And speaking of which, he is actually working on one right now. So we'll flip through that as we talk, and Adam will kind of show you a bit about the very long and arduous process, I would say, of working with the works, cutting them up, layering them, and having that foresight where you have to really make sure you know what the end result's going to be as you attack each shadow box. So yeah, all right. So let's start. Let's talk a little bit about A Stranger's Tale, as those works comprise a large portion of the exhibition. Who is the author? Tell us more about her and tell us how you met with her and where
Okay.
the
Well,
illustrations came from.
the, the author of A Stranger's Tale is Natasha Zeri, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Natasha. She contacted me through Instagram actually a while back. Um, Quite a lovely little message you sent me, Tash. It seemed quite timid, kind of asking if I might be interested in reading her manuscript. And she sent it through, and from the first read through, I was just in love with it. Basically, it captured so many of the themes that I love to work with, but it also the whole story and the way she's written it has this kind of this classic folklore kind of feel to it. I don't know if you've read it yet, had a chance to read it yet, Erica, but
I
it's
read
just,
the first couple lines and I was instantly taken.
yeah,
I had
yeah,
to
it's got.
wait, unfortunately, to open up all my mail, so I couldn't get to it as quickly as I wanted to.
Yeah,
But
and it's such a beautiful story. It's got so many wonderful characters in it, and the ending is just so touching as well. So yeah, it was just an absolute treat to work on, and the real treat to work with Natasha as well, because she had such a strong kind of vision with this. But she also let me kind of just go with it, which was really nice. Because it's hard to let go of these things sometimes, isn't it? When you've worked on a story for so long, to then hand it over to an illustrator who hasn't had any previous connection with it must be such a tricky thing. So she put a lot of trust in me for this. So yeah, so that was really nice. And I just I had loads of fun working on it and came up with a collection that I'm really proud of. I'm really happy that you're showing there, Erica. It's I remember sending them to you, not really knowing if you'd how you'd feel about taking them into the show, but you seemed quite excited. So
I was, I was, and I am, as Joseph and I love everything you do, and Nam as well. For
uh,
everyone who's not familiar, Adam is actually married to Nam Kinnear King, who is another fantastic artist that we're very fortunate to work with.
I'm sure she'll duck her head in at some point. She's keeping the kids away at the
No,
moment.
I figured. And eventually, hopefully, we'll be able to do one with her too if she's comfortable. But yeah, I couldn't resist them. I mean, there's so many reasons why I love your work, but I mean, the nostalgic anchoring that they hold for me is a huge part of it, as it's something that rekindles my childhood and my sense of adventure and curiosity. And you're just
That though as well, because that's kind of instantly what drew me to the story of A Stranger's
Mhm.
Tale. Just that it felt like this is a story that I should have read when I was growing up. Do you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it's just something about it, like that nostalgic quality you're talking about. It just rings quite true with the story as well. So
But
yeah,
what
it was just a kind of instant perfect match, I think. So um, yeah.
that's quite a treat, though, as an adult, to find something that works within the confines of your heart with respect to growing up in these stories. And now you have this brand new one that has all the ingredients of what you loved growing up, and now you get to visit it for the first time.
Yeah, no, that's lovely. It is. It's a real treat.
It is. So we're talking about A Stranger's Tale for the individual that asked. This was a book that Natasha Zeri, I think is how we pronounce her name, had written and Adam Oehlers had illustrated. It's available on Amazon as well as through Natasha's Instagram. So if you guys need help finding it, feel free to message us after our talk today and we will definitely help you out. And so a question popped up. How long does it take for you to finish one illustration?
All right. Wow. Well, yeah, that will vary quite a bit depending on which piece I'm working on, or what kind of piece, or the size, or the level of details.
They're always
So,
detailed, Adam.
I
Tons of
suppose.
detail.
Okay, so the two you're showing at the moment from A Stranger's Tale, the little black and white on the left there, I think from the original concept. Oh, that's the stranger there. From the original concept sketch to a completed piece was probably around, on and off for about a week, maybe a week and a half. But then in between there, I'm talking with Natasha. I'm sending her sketches, and we're finalizing the concept basically. And then once everything's been agreed upon by both of us, I guess, then I'll start sketching it out. And for a piece that size, I guess if I work solidly, it would probably be, maybe 3-4 days worth. And the coloured ones are a bit longer. It's a really tricky question to ask. It depends what kind of headspace I'm in as well, I think. Sometimes some pieces just flow out a lot quicker than others. Other pieces I'll get stuck on a section for a little bit. So yeah, I'd say ballpark figure a few days, solid work, but normally a little bit longer.
Yeah, and I bet also when you have something that, although this isn't really, I guess this is commercial, but you had so much freedom versus some
Yeah.
of the pieces here that perhaps are coming straight from you without outside influence?
Well, yeah, that's quite different as well. So time-wise, on my own pieces, the time's a bit quicker in the sense that I'm not chatting about the concepts with anyone, but then I do work on a much larger scale for myself as well. So um, yeah, yeah, tricky question. Sorry, I hope I've answered your question.
No, it's a good question and it was a good answer. And we'll come back to this too because I would like to elaborate more, but I don't want to miss out on any questions. So the next one is about the age range for the book A Stranger's Tale.
Oh, right. Okay. So I mean, when I was working on it, I was thinking it would be a kind of teenage young adult kind of book, but it is actually for kids. And Tash has done quite a few or a couple of kind of school events, reading sections of the story and working with kids on it. And she sent me some lovely photographs of some of her times working with the kids in the school on the book, and I think those kids were around maybe around 10 or 11. So yeah, so a kind of yeah, kids to older kids to teen, I'd say up. But I think, I mean, as an adult, I got a lot out of it as well. So I think yeah,
I,
kids, teenagers to adults.
yep. I mean, I think that there's this kind of like window where the story
Sasha's
may
watching
be.
this, she's probably banging her head.
Oh, no. And this is all interpretation and what you gathered from the story.
Yes,
And
yeah.
so, it's nice because, with all the books that are out there that target, maybe perhaps teenagers, so many adults can enjoy them too. And it enhances the audience reach. And I think that's a wonderful thing because so many people can connect with a well thought out story with characters that
Yeah.
are relatable and worlds that are wonderfully imagined.
Absolutely. I think a lot of adults these days can relate to kids' stories anyway. I mean, I'm nearly 40 and I absolutely love Harry Potter. So
I can say that was the example I was thinking of actually. I mean, and my husband and I watch plenty of anime and we watch stories that are based off of very young people, kind of starting their lives and going through transitions. And there's just so much that we can all connect with because we've all gone through that. And it's always interesting to see how other people through their different experiences become who they are. And it's
yeah,
constantly relatable.
absolutely. I think as an illustrator as well, or not even as an illustrator, all of us, I think just it's important to kind of hang on to
Yes,
that inner child and to feed that inner child a bit so that to continue to see the magic in the world and stuff because there is a lot of it. So
absolutely. We get
yeah,
too wrapped up in our adult matters more
yeah.
often than we should, and we lose sight of all the wonder and just the adventure that surrounds us in the most simple of things.
So I just had a WhatsApp message pop up from a friend saying that she knew I'd be talking about Harry Potter.
That's good. I mean, it ties in the idea that, we're working with these worlds that are very relatable to our own, but there are ingredients and magical touches that make these places someplace new where we lose ourselves in. And they beckon our
Absolutely.
childhood, but they also, just get our imagination going once more. And, it's incredible. And it's very much alike to Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings and all,
Yeah.
there's so many fantasy titles out there that I think that you, as well as so many other artists, are inspired by, and our collectors and our followers and fans too.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see it bleeding into a lot of artists' work these days. That kind of that fantasy genre or magical genre.
For sure. And that actually helps us get into the next question that came up about inspiration. So clearly these stories inspire you, but let's talk about maybe your artistic inspirations as well as anything else. The world around you, you've lived in both Australia and England, your kids, Nam. Tell us all about that.
Wow. Okay. So everything.
I mean, I'm assuming because you have a lot of inspiration, I think, but
So I mean, as far as my kind of inspiration, it just comes from everywhere, doesn't it? I mean, other artists, I get it from stories, from pieces of writing, from music, from nature, the landscapes, just everything really. Um, I mean, I could name a few artists that I admire. I mean, I grew up looking at the work of, and this is probably quite obvious to a lot of people, but Arthur Rackham.
yep.
But then others that like the storytelling of Sean Tan, I really love. Edward Gorey, I taught myself cross-hatching. Well, Edward Gorey taught me cross-hatching by me looking through his books. I was obsessed with him for a good few years. But then film as well, and visuals in song lyrics. These days, I'm on a massive Tom Waits bender. Actually, I've been listening to a lot of Tom Waits. There's some incredible imagery in his pieces. And a lot of the stories and visual ideas I come up with come from our walks in the countryside and our walks in the woods. Nom and I actually lived in the countryside of Norfolk for a while, and we'd go basically on 2-3 hour walks every day. And the woodlands and there's a place called Nettershall Heath in particular that just it's full of mushrooms and foxgloves and wild ponies and deer and owls.
Wow.
And just everything you can think of. It was just really inspiring. I think the majority of my inspiration comes from nature, really. But again, it's such a vast topic to cover, isn't it?
It certainly is, but I think you got the really, I think, most notable aspects down. I mean, like every artist, you're inspired by the creative world around you, and that's both the organic and the I guess created by individuals, music, art, history, story, all of that. So I think it was a great response, and it's a very broad thing to approach. So another really good question that just popped up is, what do you think is more satisfying? Having your art chosen for a book or having a collector choose one of your pieces for their personal collection?
Oh, golly.
It's a good one.
It's so, when a piece finds a home, especially when a piece finds a home and the collector contacts you as well, that's really amazing. It's to, I know how personal it is to, to adorn your walls with art. It's such a personal thing, and it's something that you live in, and you're through your own personal kind of art collection, you're building your world around you, and it's so personal to have your work in somebody's home is just it's an incredible feeling. But then at the same time, to have your book, your work in a book in print that's an incredible feeling as well, but in a different kind of sense, I guess, in a more accessible sense for people. It's something that people can pick up and people can give to people, and I guess it can spread a bit further in a book, can't it? So that's again such different feelings. You guys are asking really hard questions.
But I think that was good, though.
Amazing feelings. I'll say that.
I mean, the idea that, someone chooses to have something to wake up to and go to bed to every day of your own creation and of your
see on your wall every day that's huge, isn't it?
It's amazing. It's one of the most beautiful things that we get to encounter as gallerists, and hopefully, as you mentioned, you do as well when these collectors do reach out to you. But the idea that, your artwork can also spread more accessibly and be seen and experienced by even more people by being featured in a publication and in print and being chosen by that particular author to commemorate their vision is really special too. And I think they're on equal footing.
Yes, absolutely. It's impossible to choose.
They're both extremely special and a very beautiful thing. So another question, love your work on the new tarot deck. Did you enjoy working on the meanings within each card?
Yes, so the tarot deck I did with Stephanie Burrows. She was the author and creator of the deck. Again, contacted me through Instagram actually, which was lovely. Each her descriptions for the cards were so beautifully written and so clear. And again, like the work with Tash on A Stranger's Tale, it was the world that she wanted to create just gelled so nicely with what I like to inject into my world, which I guess is why she contacted me in the first place. But so we just instantly, again, it was another kind of dream partnership. So and she was very open to my own suggestions and to my ideas, and it became a really lovely collaboration in that sense. So yeah, every card was so different. Every card has its own meaning. Before Stephanie introduced me to tarot, I'd never really, I knew about it, but I'd never really put much thought to it or looked into it that much. But working on this project, I got to research all of the meanings of each card and the symbolism and the imagery. And yeah, it was fascinating. It was really, really interesting. So because every card has such a different message and meaning, I guess the 78 illustrations is a lot. So my concern was that towards the end of the project it might start getting repetitive or something, but it just didn't, because every single piece was different and was doing something different. So yeah, no, that was an extremely fun project to work on. I loved it, and the crowdfunding is going remarkably well. Actually, we're both over the moon with how that's going. So it's having a really lovely response. So yeah, thanks everyone who's backed it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. And it's something to say also that from all that I've seen, as far as your more commercially oriented projects go, every person that has hired you to work with them, whether it would be again on the tarot deck, on a publication, or even a music video, they've really embraced your style. So they've sought you out particularly because they were drawn to your aesthetic. So in the Metallica music video, for instance, the animals and the interiors and landscapes are very much recognizable as yours. And same thing with the Stranger's Tale as well as the tarot deck. So do you feel then that these are all kind of just extensions of your fine art as a result, because each commissioner is embracing your personal aesthetic? Or do you find that there are still new challenges because it's creating for someone else as well as yourself?
There's always new challenges. I think okay, so working for or with other people, I've been doing it for quite a while now, so I think I've found a very good way of doing it. But it always helps when the right people contact you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've been very lucky in the sense that the writers and directors or whoever it is that's contacted me, I think generally they contact me because they've looked through my website, looked through my feed, and looked through my work, and they've seen it and said that's what we want. So if somebody contacted me and said and they wanted something that was completely out of my comfort zone, I'd probably struggle a lot more. But because people are seeing my work and contacting me because of it, I've got a certain level of comfort in that, because I know that they're contacting me because they've seen what they want. Do you know what I mean?
No, absolutely. And I think that's a very beautiful thing, because
I hope I'm not babbling too much, guys.
No. I mean, sometimes I babble, so I always feel the same way. But I do think that your work is very recognizable, and it tugs at a certain heartstring that a lot of other things can't quite grasp at. And so when, these other creatives have an idea, a story, or a visual in mind, and they are connected with your work, it makes sense that you stay true to what it is that you do. And
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's kind of the connection of a group or two individuals or however many are involved that are all kind of being brought together under certain tenets, certain, ideas, where you have, these woodland scenarios, and you have, these female protagonists or animal protagonists, and the natural world is a very large part of what you do. And so it's very beautiful that so many people have reached out to you based on what it is you do, and really have allowed you to work within that vein for their
audience. Exactly, yeah. And the best part about it as well is that a lot of these projects are long term. I worked on A Stranger's Tale for a long period of time, the tarot deck for a long period of time, the animations, all of them, we're working quite closely and tightly together for that period of time. So you form. I've been so lucky to be able to form really lovely relationships with the people that I work with as well, because we're there chatting every day for a good few months.
Absolutely.
For the project. So it's it's hard to when these like-minded people contact you to work on a like-minded project, I think it's nearly impossible to just not become friends. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. We see the same thing with the gallery where we get to meet so many wonderful people of different
Mm,
ages, backgrounds, everything. It's such diversity, but we're all coming together and we're becoming instant friends with most of them because we
yeah.
have these connections to the same artwork, the same stories and imagery, and it
And
just
you're brought
becomes
together
natural.
because you've been brought together because of a common passion, haven't you?
Yep,
So
yep.
how could you not instantly just connect? So,
Absolutely. And it's the same thing with you as an artist and our other artists where, there's just this like natural friendship that is there
mm,
before we even know it. And it's beautiful because it really brings everyone together in a time where, not now specifically, but even with this technology when things are normal, people are a bit more disconnected. So it's beautiful that the
mm.
art kind of is able to reinvigorate that human connection and bring people together.
Yeah, but even more so now, Erica. I mean, how long have we been working together? And it's
Yeah.
taken a pandemic for us to do this. So.
I know. But with these, tribulations come beautiful ideas and new ways to, share with the world. And so this is one thing that I'm very glad I,
Don't
came up with
worry.
doing. And yeah, and have artists like you who are brave enough to come on here and speak with me. So thank you.
Oh, no, thank you, Erica.
Yeah. Yeah, Adam's been with us since we pretty much opened. And, from the moment I found his work, I was like, I need this artist in the gallery. And I was obsessed until I got a hold of him. And I've been so happy ever since. And every
Yeah.
piece, has been absolutely incredible. And Adam's not one to lack in detail or time or quality in anything that he does. I mean, each and every piece is so imaginative and different from the other. And there are oftentimes continuations where the same characters might be exploring new worlds or mingling with new characters, but you have this, beautiful individuality in each piece, whether it's commemorating that emotion, that adventure, that moment. And so it's always an absolute pleasure.
You're going to make me blush.
um, So let me go because I have a couple more questions that popped up. And thank you guys for all your questions. You've been really awesome about submitting them. Someone asked about your favorite ice cream. So that's the kind of question.
That's funny. I like a salted caramel. Random.
The color kind of suits a lot of your palette too, oddly enough. We don't have too many ice
Yeah.
cream pieces, but we seem to have a very antique palette, a very autumnal palette. The owl is a good example in that case. But yeah. Next question. What projects are you currently working on, and are you finding the lockdown is changing the way you work?
Oh, definitely, yeah. So Nom and I kind of we both worked from home. If you guys haven't checked out Nom's page, I strongly recommend you do. She's amazing.
Me too.
Um, we both work from home, and now we've got three kids. So with the kids home from school, it is it's quite tricky. So because when I work on the more on the illustration side of things, I do get more kind of commercial work come through. And obviously money is quite important these days. So I've been lucky enough to kind of have a job come through which I'm working on. But that means that Nom's kind of looking after the kids and homeschooling and all of that. So it's changed the dynamic a lot in the sense that basically Nom's lost well, not lost, but she's lost a lot of her painting time. Whereas when the girls are at school and we're working together at home, we sit opposite each other working all the time. So in that sense, it's changed a lot because I'm kind of alone when I'm working now, which is a bit strange and a bit different. There's no one there to hear my random little comments to myself. But also the time wise as well, it's a lot harder to kind of get really lost at the moment in something because there's constantly a distraction. Whereas if our girls are at school and we're painting or drawing, we can really focus in on it, you know. So yeah, it's changed a lot, but we're getting through it just like everyone else. So
Yeah, a lot of adaptation.
yeah, everyone's finding their way through this, aren't
I
they? So
know. You're not the only artists that I speak to. So many of our artists have young ones at home, and it's completely changed the dynamic of how they can work and when they can work. And it's
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's not something you'd ever
But
think that would happen, but
on
I'm
the
sure.
other end of it, we are getting very creative with our playing.
See, you're exercising another part of your brain.
Exactly.
And I'm sure it is quite special to kind of be together all the time and have this different, lifestyle. It's not going to be
Yeah.
permanent, but it's something that you do have a taste of, which I think is wonderful because you're getting to see your kids in times and situations that you normally wouldn't.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And they're getting to see us work a lot more as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
Do they ever try to paint or draw alongside you?
oh, all the time.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. No, we'll all sit at the table together drawing all the time. Yeah. Drawing, making stuff, painting, crafting, whatever. Yeah, it's quite there's quite a lot of creativity going on.
It's really special. And I grew up with a grandmother who would always take me to arts and crafts stores, and we'd sit down and we'd always do these projects together where I'd learn different methods and mediums. And it was such a
Yeah,
wonderful exercise because as a kid, you have so much imagination and creativity that is just seeping out of you. And it's just another
yeah,
way to kind of hone in on that and translate it. And, for many, it's launched all of us into the artistic careers that we're all a part of today. And so it's
yeah.
great.
No, absolutely.
So let me see. Next question. Your style is so unique to you. For fun, do you ever mess with different colors off your usual palette or try different methods?
I do. I'm quite set in my ways, I think, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Um, every now and again, I'll have a bit of I'll feel a bit more curious, and I'll try a few different things. But I don't know, and until the palettes that I work with at the moment become boring to me, I think I'm going to keep working with them.
I mean, I love that.
I think it's because of a lot of the things that you've mentioned already, Erica. I one of my main kind of goals is to recreate that kind of classic style of illustration and that kind of old world, and I think for the time being I've kind of I found something that does that for me. Um, there are other things that I'd probably play around with sooner, like you mentioned the shadow boxes. They're relatively new for me, the shadow boxes, and I'm having a lot of fun exploring kind of how to play with the different layers and just what I can do with this layering system. And I've been thinking a lot about sculpture as well. I did a lot of sculptures in the past, but I don't really know why I stopped. Actually, I think it was just a matter of time, really. Let me just get something down for you and see if I can show you this guy. So this fella, this is based on one of my illustrations, one of my older ones. I use him as my Instagram profile picture, actually. But if you can see this guy here,
Oh, yeah?
that's one of my
Yep.
sculptures there.
I
So
didn't
this
realize he was
guy,
a sculptor.
yeah.
Oh, how cool. They're almost like marionettes. Or he reminds me of one, maybe in a sense, too.
Funny you should say, because I went through a phase of uh, making a lot of puppets
Wow.
as well. So I studied puppetry at
That's
uni
so
for a while.
wonderful.
Yeah.
So I can go
And
there and see that.
down here is on the book pile.
Oh, look
Has
at the bottom.
got a lot of my titles and favorite books on
Oh,
the spines and
that's
stuff.
so
So,
fantastic. The one thing I imagine is,
um,
is shipping would be quite scary because they both look quite fragile and
that was a big problem.
but
And I think that lends itself to why I might have stopped as well. I want to explore different mediums with the sculptures and stuff.
I think
But
you
again,
really should.
I've just got this massive to-do list. I want to play around with all of that stuff. I really want to. I've been talking to Jess Cope, the director I've been working with on the animations, and I really want to learn After Effects and kind of
Oh wow.
because right now I don't animate. I create the pieces for the animation, but But I'd love to be able to play around with that. But again, it's just the time,
The
really, isn't
time,
it?
yeah.
Maybe when the kids have left home in like 15, 16 years.
Well, you won't ever be bored, I imagine, with all that you have that you want to do, which is great.
I've forgotten the question. What was the question?
So, where were we? I think, oh, we were talking about working in different mediums, but I would say in different palettes as well that, with your shadow boxes, you are combining the more, the painting, the 2D medium with the 3D medium because you're working in layers and with shadow play and the elements that a 3D sculpture would have as well.
Sorry, say that
Oh,
again.
sorry. So with the shadow boxes, you're sculpting. I mean, these are three-dimensional pieces. They do
Yeah,
hang on the wall.
absolutely.
Yeah, so
No,
it's
absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's one thing I really enjoy about it. It's kind of because I start them with a sketch like I do any illustration, and then from the sketch I'll figure out the different layers. But then because they're held, in some cases they're held almost 2 inches apart. These layers, you've got to think about what can be seen behind each layer, and you're suddenly thinking on a more three dimensional kind of thought pattern. So it's quite close to the sculpting.
yeah, I
A little
think
bit.
so. For now,
Yeah.
it will do. So another question came up, and actually, while we're kind of mentioning shadow boxes, can you show us the shadow box that you're working on right now?
Yeah,
Actually,
absolutely. So,
let's talk about
um,
that, and then we'll go back to the questions.
okay, cool. Um, I really wish I could have got these to you, Erica. It's for all you guys listening. The reason these aren't with the show is basically because of my framer having to close his doors. So these were all in line to have their frames made, but then our lockdown kind of came in before we had a chance to finish them. But luckily, there's 3 shadow boxes for the show, and I've got 2 of them here with me. What I'll do is show you the new one. Erica, would you like me to kind of put it together for you?
Yeah, we'd love to see that.
Oh,
And
okay, okay, okay.
I
Well, I won't
also,
show it to you as a whole yet. I'll set you up on this tripod. Sorry,
yeah,
that's just a nice close up of my thumb for you.
I do want
There
to
we go.
mention though that the shadow boxes are still going to be a part of the show and they will
Oh,
get framed as
absolutely.
soon as possible. So if anyone is interested in them, they will be a part of that preview that Adam will have soon.
Absolutely. I would have liked them to be with you with the rest of the
I
collection.
know, me too.
It's a strange feeling, kind of splitting up the connection.
Yeah,
Okay, if you guys just give me a
I know.
second, I've got a tripod.
Of
Ooh,
course.
okay.
And thank you guys for all your questions. We're going to get to them. And as most of you know, we get cut off at the hour mark. So we'll reconnect if we're still not done with everything. And we hope you join us back again for that continuation.
I'm trying to get a good shot of my desk. This is the tricky part. Sorry, guys. Give me a sec. Can we see anything there? It's a bit
A little
wobbly.
bit.
You know what? Okay, I'm just going to put it there for now. If that falls over, I do apologise. I can't really see because the tripod's in the way.
All
Okay.
right, cool.
If I sit back here like this, can you see that piece?
Yep, we can see it.
All right, cool. Tell you what I'll do is turn it around. Okay, so with the shadow boxes, I would get a bunch of mounts cut like this. Unfortunately, I don't have the mounts cut to size for this piece either, so I'm going to kind of improvise a bit with the mounts that I do have, and just kind of stack them on top of one of each other for it. So you're going to see the shadow box layer by layer. It's a bit weird to begin with because you're just looking at the background layer. So this is the background layer.
Ah.
Not the finest, work, I don't think. But, or maybe it is. I don't know. So in the top corner there, you can see a bit of detail of the waves. Down the bottom, you've got just a watercolor wash, which sits behind everything. You see that?
Yep, we can see it.
Back as far as I possibly can for you.
I think
Okay.
holding it up like that really helps too.
Okay, cool. Well, once it's all in place, I'll bring bring the phone back over for you and give you a good close-up. So I'm just going to stack the mounts here. Like that. So I generally have about 3 or 4 mounts between each layer. So that comes to almost a centimetre of depth behind each layer. So here we go. Very simple, this one. That is just one wave on that layer. I think in total this one is made up of 8 layers. So I'm going to get a few more mounts on there. So this is a tricky one. And again, like if I had these mounts cut to size, you know, it would just hold it all together really nicely. You wouldn't see any of the white paper around the edges. Well, you won't when they're properly done. So. You can keep asking me questions if you want.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. So the next question is, how old were you when you first knew you'd be doing this as a career?
All right. I don't really remember not wanting to do this as a career. I mean, I've always drawn. Like as a kid, I always had a pencil in my hand as a kid as well. I think. So I'll just show you the next one as well. We're getting a bit more detailed here. There's a bit of at the top there. And this weird squiggle at the bottom, can you see that?
Yeah.
That is the first kind of backing layer of all of the undercurrents of the water. So yeah, I think when I knew that I wanted to do it as a career was probably when I found out that I could do it as a career. And I think that was probably when one of my big brothers, he's a graphic designer in Melbourne. Hey Nigel, if you're listening. He studied graphic design at uni, and at that point I was kind of in my early years of high school. He studied graphic design, and I think it was a joint course with illustration. So I started hearing about it then, knowing that, and I think that's when I realized illustration was actually a thing I could do, and yeah, there was really no turning back from there.
Yeah.
So we've got another one here, slightly more detailed wave coming in at the top there. Some more undercurrents with I think there's a few bubbles starting on that one. Have you got a shot at all of what I'm building here?
Do you mean like me or?
Yeah. Can you see?
Oh yeah. No, we can still see it. I mean, do you mind? Can you hold them all up together so we can see where it's gone, or will it fall apart?
We'll bring the phone over for you, okay? Because hang on a sec, because I can't lift it up because.
Oh no! Okay, don't mess it up. Well, our next question in the meantime, I think it relates to the article that you, me, and Nam were all a part of for the most recent issue of Beautiful Bizarre magazine. So if you guys haven't checked that out, please do, as Adam and Nam interview and talk to each other about so many things. But this question is really great as well. Since Nam is such an extremely talented artist as well, do you find yourself ever asking her advice or opinion?
Oh, all the time, yeah. Oh, every single day. We're constantly calling each other over to look at what we've done, look at a section, tell us why it doesn't look right, what colours should this be, where would the lighting fall on this, have I got the dimensions of this room right, what should I call this piece, what should I name my exhibition, how about this? It's just constant, really. Yeah, we're always asking each other and giving each other advice and brainstorming together, really. So it's quite nice, and we've been doing that since we got together, which was 16 years ago now. So that's a lot of artwork and a lot of painting. So this is where I'm at now. Can you see that?
Ah, yeah, we can see that.
Okay, so this is 4 layers in. Let's put it back up here. I just made the angle a whole lot worse.
No. Everyone knows we're all working from home and doing the best we can with what we have.
Okay.
Yep, good again.
There we go. So heading on to layer 5 now. I think it's filling up a bit down here now. And we've got the beginning of the creature that is featured in this piece happening here. So we've got one wing,
Oh yeah,
which is breaking out of the water with a couple more currents underneath. And this is like, I really enjoy this part of it, you know, the putting it together is quite fun, but the figuring out of the layers is, it's kind of mind melting at some points, if you know what I mean. You just kind of, you're looking at this 2D sketch that you've done, and somehow you've got to figure out how it's all going to connect. I find, you know, if you connect it all to the edge, it holds nice and strongly, so you've got to figure out all of those kind of those elements for it.
actually skipping a question because a question came up about the shadow box technique, which relates to what we're talking about. Shadow boxes are really unique to see. Do you feel inspired by other artists playing in this space?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Gosh, there's like I think my Instagram feed is a constant source of inspiration. It's kind of you know, it's so wonderful that you can control your feed in the way that everything you see is just something beautiful. Do you know what I mean? So it's constantly artists. I'm constantly getting inspired by other artists, and I feel like when you see that work so constantly on a daily basis, you know, you're just tuning into what everybody's working on. It really makes you want to push yourself as well. Like it makes you want to push your work further and kind of get your quality up and get just you know, just focus in on what you're doing and what you're creating, so that you can compete in a way. Does that make sense?
No, it makes sense. I mean, I think that, you know, when people are feeling uninspired, they'll go to a museum or a gallery to look at the work of other people to kind of get that fire revved up again. And
Yeah.
it's really a golden age for art now because
No,
you have the technology to share your art with everyone all around the world and with each other. And so
a
never
world
before have we been able
never had
to control, as you
community.
said, and curate our feeds and be surrounded by art that is purely to our tastes. And it's incredible.
Yeah. So yes, in answer to that question, all the time I'm inspired by other artists.
Absolutely. So a bunch of questions have continued popping up, so we'll try to go through them so we can get to everyone's. Someone had asked if your artistic ability is something that comes naturally, or do you have to study it?
Well, I think there's probably been a little bit of both. Like I said, I've always drawn. I've always wanted to be creating something. Um, and I guess from a young age there was a certain amount of talent there. But you learn. Well, sorry, I learned other very important things from my studies. Things about, you know, how to put a good composition together. Lighting. I mean, one of the best things I did when I was studying, I think, was part of my illustration course was 4 years of life drawing every week, and I think that was the most valuable thing I've ever done, really, because you just learn so much about light and form, and so yeah, I think it's a bit of both. I think you can be born with talent, but you can feed it so much through education, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
This is the final layer there. I hope I answered the question, by the way. Did I?
Yeah, no, you did. You did. It's probably a little challenging to work and also address questions. So we are grateful to
I'm
you for
almost
doing
done
that.
here, guys. I'm just going to put this final mount on, and then I'll bring the phone over and see if I can give you a good angle on it.
Do
So
you
this is yeah. I think I may have put a few too many mounts in. I think when this one is put together, the frame that I had in mind for it is around an inch and a half thick. So this is sitting a little wider than that, but not very much. Okay, I'll just put this little mount on there, and I'll come and get you. Hang on a sec. All right, hello again. So I'm just going to push that in a bit. Can I rotate my camera? Hey, I
Perfect.
can. All right, so here we go. So this piece is called Metamorphosis.
Wow. Those
Um,
waves and the wings, everything is so unbelievable.
I was the thing that gets me with these is that you don't really know. Well, at this point, I mean, I don't think I've done enough shadow boxes to really know what's going to work, if you know what I mean. So it's really fun playing around, and then at this stage, being able to move around it and see where the
Wow.
elements of movement come in. So, for instance, the foreground wing and the beak, I'm really happy with the movement across there when you kind of sweep across the piece. It's a bit dark down here, but oh, it's very dark in this lighting. But behind the tail there, you can in when you're looking at the original, you can make out the 7 layers of underwater currents and stuff.
Wow.
Um,
The dark the dark quality though, I mean, I'm sure it's not as dark in person, but it really gives it more depth and it pushes what's in the foreground forward.
oh, absolutely, yeah. And like I said, so if you can imagine this, but with the that white paper at the top there not being seen, it just that really adds to the depth of it as well when you can't make out the edge, and that'll be what it's like in the frame. So yeah, so there you go.
Yeah, that's extraordinary. I hope you guys are all excited to see this too and understand a bit more about the nature of shadow box work and how detailed and how layered and involved it is with its depth. And you really are getting the perfect union of a sculpture and a painting together.
Yeah, lovely. I've got another one here to show you actually. I won't put this one together because it's a bit time consuming, but hang on a sec. Uh, I shared a kind of snippet of this one recently. This one's called The Trail. There we go.
Here she is.
Oh, hang on a sec. So this is, how many is this? This is 6 layers, this one. Um,
Yeah, she's beautiful too.
quite hard to do one-handed. Um, yeah.
I think after seeing Metamorphosis, we can understand now a bit more about the process and the
Yeah.
depth.
And
Recognize.
again, yeah, she'll be sitting in the same kind of about an inch, um, deep. Yeah, there you go.
That's cool.
Oh, and here's my face.
All
There
right,
you
back to
go.
Adam. So let's get through a couple more questions before Instagram kicks us off.
Lovely.
They're so kind like that. Someone asked if you'll be releasing more pictures to the USA.
Releasing more. Sorry, say again.
Releasing more pictures to the USA. I guess that means like these pieces, or
Oh well, I mean, all of these are going over to you guys in the States, aren't they?
yeah. I mean, these are here with me in New York, and the pieces that will still be a part of the show that Adam is working on will be in his studio for now. And should people be interested, we're also thankfully able to ship, so we'll be able to ship them directly to you from the studio.
Yeah, I mean, everything that we both Nom and I do is we want it to be able to go anywhere in the world, really. So yes, always to the States. Yeah.
Absolutely, and hopefully these pieces will all be finding their homes within the States and elsewhere too. So if you guys need more information on that, we are here to give that to you at any point. Just DM us after the live story. So someone else asked, do you ever have days of doubt or artist block?
Oh yeah, yeah. Been quite a lot of that recently, actually, as you can imagine. They don't come as frequently as they used to when I was younger. But yeah, definitely from time to time, I'll sit in front of a blank piece of paper and generally when it happens, I'll end up kind of tearing up that piece of paper because I think it's cursed, and then move on to another. Or if I start sketching something out and it goes wrong, and I start again, or I just start playing with it and playing with it, and then by the end of it, it's just a smudged mess
Oh
of
gosh.
that piece of paper was clearly cursed as well. So that's out the door before it gets a chance to infect the rest of the paper in my.
Oh my god. I mean, we all on the other side of this just see these perfect pieces of art just come out of you, and we don't see that that bumpy side
Maybe,
to the.
maybe every artist should share a failed art profile.
Yeah,
Um,
it should be one just for that, a page just devoted to failed attempts.
yeah.
I'm sure people would find the beauty though and a connection with them too.
Oh yeah, yeah. Or
But
maybe just find it interesting.
yeah, yeah. But as an artist, you have that control over what you put out there and what you share with the world, and that's something that's very special for you to have. So
Thank goodness, really.
yeah, yeah. So next question, Shadowbox related, is wow, there's so much going into these Shadowbox pieces. Will these pieces stand the test of time? Do they have a long lifespan?
Well, as I said, they are quite new to me, but as far as the lifespan goes, they're exactly the same as any of my illustration work. The same mediums, watercolor, pen and pencil. The only difference is the cut paper, really. So I've made sure to mount them all very strongly. When they're all framed in those in these cut mounts that I was showing you. So when they're all sandwiched together in the frame and then framed up really tightly, there's zero movement in the paper. And I use a nice thick paper stock as well, so that it holds nice and strong. So as far as the test of time goes, I think so. I think so, but I guess time will tell.
Yep, yep. I mean, the medium on the paper is a huge part of it because the paper itself has to support the weight of the chosen medium. And so that's a huge factor. And with Adam layering them with these tightly inserted mounds, it keeps everything in place. So there's no additional weight on anything except those mounts. And those mounts are on the interior where it's not visible. So archivally, you have
nothing's stuck either, so there's no kind of there's no chance of kind of glue breaking down over time.
That's a good point.
Yeah, or affecting the color of the watercolor as it seeps through the paper with time. So what's in the mount? The only thing in the frame really is paper and card. So
yeah. That's great to know. I didn't even think about the idea of glue being something that could have been used or not in this case. So, because over time, I mean, I've had handbags that are very old and the glue starts to seep out of the seams. So anything over time with that, can change a little bit. So it's great that you have that more natural approach of layering the work and you're not really doing anything different medium-wise with these shadow box pieces versus, the watercolor works and the ink work that you've done all these years that you're so familiar with.
Yeah. No, the only difference is the scalpel, which I'm quite enjoying using, actually.
Just warning to everyone.
It gets a bit tedious, but it's quite therapeutic for the most part.
And the results are really enchanting. I mean, your work always is, but it's very cool to see it in a different dimension. And the shadow boxes do just that. So we're going to get booted off in a minute. So I'm going to lose some questions, but we have a Tom Waits song question about, let me see, the song that we think best sums up the way of living. I just don't want to forget them because we're going to lose them. Actually, can you guys, there's a lot more questions than I anticipated. Can you bring your questions back when we reconnect? I'm sorry. We're going to just get booted off. So everyone who hasn't gotten addressed yet with their questions, come back and join us and we will continue addressing them. So see you guys soon. Okay, we're back.
Sorry, I couldn't remember how I joined you last time.
No, you did it perfectly. So, hi everyone again. Thank you for coming back with us. And here we have Adam Oehlers once again with us, continuing all the questions and continued conversation about his pieces and him and his work. So, send those questions back over. But the one that I do remember was related to Tom Waits, and I think it was pertaining to what song of his you think best suits the current state of the world.
Oh, right, the current state of the world. Off the top of my head, I really couldn't choose one. I've been listening to a lot of his album Rain Dogs. So a lot of the tunes on there are coming to mind. But as far as the state of the world, I don't know. Did you have one in mind?
I think Corey asked that question. I
Oh,
think if I'm remembering correctly.
thanks, man.
And someone said, "Say hi to your wife for me. You're so talented. I love your work."
Oh, lovely.
No, guys, send those questions over because I know there were more.
Oh, I wish I had a better answer for you, Corey. I'm having a bit of a brain melt. Um,
It's a tough question. I think a lot of them are quite
have you
suited.
heard of, is it called Road to Peace from his Ballads, Bastards and Brawlers album? That's a very lovely, poignant song, but I don't know if it's poignant for what's going on at the moment. It's more poignant for what's been going on for the last few hundred years. Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
Well,
So
the other
cool
questions,
asking the stumper though, right?
as other questions come back through, I do want to ask you about your female character, as sometimes they're a little different, but they all kind of have that same feel to them. There's kind of sometimes they're facing away, sometimes they're facing forward, so there's a bit of anonymity to them. But she's been a part of your work for a very long time, this female protagonist. So
Yeah.
was it when you had your first daughter born that you started to portray this young girl, or was it before that that this became a central character to your work?
I think our first daughter Nova played a big part in it, kind of reconnecting with those classic old tales. I think for me, it's kind of she's a bit of a blank canvas, if that makes sense. She could be anyone. Um, Now, when I think back to the adventure stories that I love, Alice and more recently Pan's Labyrinth, and these kids that find themselves suddenly transported into another world. It's kind of it's more about the world for me. So this protagonist, this girl, is like I think I started calling these girls the Lost Girls. I think when we did the Wilderlands together, Erica,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's what they are. They're the Lost Girls. They're just wandering this kind of never-ending series of unusual, distant lands. That's what they mean to me.
I mean, the fact that they're not so specific allows us all to connect with them even more strongly because there's not a personality present, but rather a feeling or a memory. And
Yeah.
so we can kind of hark back to our childhood or see these girls through perhaps our own children, our
Yeah.
siblings, our friends.
And
And
in
so,
or even ourselves, we can put ourselves in there. I think a lot of I can see the pictures, the pieces that you're thinking of as well. There's a whole series of them, um, uh, like flower beds and wildflower and all of these pieces that I did. They're always either from behind or the hair is covering the face.
mhm.
There was the piece I did for my last show with you, Erica, of the girl on the Dandelion. Um, oh, hang on a second. We've got someone coming to say hi.
Oh, let's
We've got
see.
good night.
Hi, guys.
Welcome awake.
Oh, hi, Nam.
Mom has locked the girls in the sheds for anyone who's asking.
God.
Not really. Yeah, I don't know how many people are watching this.
Well, it's also going to be on the story for a day and then on YouTube afterwards. So it will be a fun memory for everyone to come
They're
back
playing
to.
house out in the garden. So yeah, there's the girl on the dandelion that was part of my show with you, and again, the wind is blowing the hair across her face, and I think, like you said, it's the that element of anonymity and the fact that yeah, there's a protagonist and a character there, but it really could be anyone. So in those pieces, it's kind of the main focus is for me is the either the landscape or the adventure that this protagonist that this girl is either beginning or in the middle of.
And I
Uh,
think that makes for really good storytelling because you have the ability to universally connect with so many more people as a result and reach them. And as
Well,
an
yeah.
artist, that's the goal. You want to take these stories, these characters and these pieces, and you want them to resonate in different ways with different people and bring, again, people from all different backgrounds and experiences together.
Yeah. There's been from the series. I've had a lot of comments, a lot of messages, a lot of people contacting me saying how much they kind of resonated with the piece or it meant this to them
Yeah,
because and I think that's probably that's probably a part of it really is that they can place themselves within this within this world. So yeah.
absolutely. Next question. Do you use live models, your wife and children in
Mm.
your work?
If I'm like if I'm really struggling with something, I'll get Nom to pose, or there's been a few occasions where I've got Nova to do it, but she's a bit of a wild card, so it's not that effective really. But I think she's really showing an interest in doing it, like in like posing for me or Nom. And I think as time goes on, she'll probably do it more and more. Really, so, like when she gets better at maybe taking directions.
I'm sure those natural poses too also can create some inspiration for you
Oh,
too.
absolutely, absolutely. A lot of the walks we take them on in the woods and stuff will snap a lot of shots, and use as references and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's great. So someone asked about if you remember the first print you ever sold.
Um, I remember the first painting I ever sold. I used to do a lot more paintings, a lot more acrylic work. And the first painting I ever sold was a uh, kind of self-portrait, but again, it was more about a landscape, and it was this tall, gangly version of myself in amongst these kind of almost stick figure buildings. It was a long time ago. Um, but I remember the feeling. I think I remember the feeling more than I remember the painting. That feeling of the first original artwork sale. That was quite spectacular. Yeah, that was
Absolutely.
amazing.
And
Yeah.
I feel like it never quite goes away with every piece that finds its home for you and for us through the
Yeah,
gallery.
absolutely.
There's never a dull sale. It's always so happy and just full of hope and
Yeah,
excitement.
absolutely. Yes.
So we have one more question and then maybe we'll start to wrap it up just because we're going for a bit now. But I'm enjoying it and I know Adam is, but I don't know how long everyone has. So next question and final is, do you research pictures of wildlife before you draw your animals?
Oh, I do. Yeah, yeah, I absolutely do. Again, I think this is part of the golden age of our work that we were talking about. We've got so much of it at our fingertips, and if I'm creating a specific type of creature, for example, my heron or my mer heron, whatever you'd like to think.
Yeah.
Um, I sketched it out without using any reference. And when it came to drawing out the final, I got quite stuck on the open mouth. So I did a search and I found a few examples of a heron with his mouth open, just to get that kind of that part where the bottom beak joins the top beak. I couldn't figure that out by myself. So yeah, I had a search and I found it online.
Well, I think you certainly are able to do quite a bit before even having that reference material, which is really awesome.
Oh yeah, but it's yeah, it's nice to be able to double check these things sometimes, especially
Absolutely.
if something's not sitting quite right with you, you know.
Of course, and you know that on the outside, on the other side of it, rather, you want to make sure that people are able to understand also what it is you're creating, and so having that bit of reference material is a great thing. And we are
Yeah,
very fortunate to have all of that available to us. So I think we're going to close off now just because we do want to do another one of these and get a bit more specific about the pieces once Adam's exhibition opens. So we don't want to give too much away. So thank you guys for all of your questions. I'm sorry about missing some earlier. And if you need...
I answered them all okay for you guys. Thanks for sending the questions through.
You did a great job. You really did. All the artists have been so wonderful on here, and it's a little uncomfortable, of course, but you guys are all wonderful. So thank you. And for everyone who's watching, if you want to join Adam's preview for his upcoming show, we are taking emails now. So when the show is ready for viewing, as he's still working on some pieces, as you guys can see, we will send that over to you. And we're still shipping, we're still doing payment plans, and all those works that are still at Adam's will, of course, ship to you guys from his studio once the framing is complete. So, yeah, I think that's it. Thank you guys again.
Everyone. It's really nice seeing all your comments popping up as well, by the way.
Yeah, thank you guys for such kind words. You guys have been so supportive of Adam and his work.
And thanks to you, Erica. We'll do this again, gosh, in about, when's the opening?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know. Early May. I don't even know what day it is. I think it's like May 5th, I want to say, but I have to double check because I'm completely lost with days now. Not leaving my house. It feels like one giant day.
Absolutely.
So, but yep, I will stay in touch with all of you guys. I'm with you, Adam, and we'll talk all soon.
Wonderful. All right, Erica. See you later, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.